Hi there. So in today's video we're going to look at the Chardonnay Pinot Noir from the Polo Club range, and then also the Perfect Host from the Estate range wine. So here we've got the Polo Club Chardonnay Pinot Noir 2019. It's actually quite exciting. We've got the 2020 vintage right here behind me in these two tanks. So basically Chardonnay Pinot Noir is what I like to refer to is the happy accident. So what happened was, if you've watched the previous video where we spoke about the MCC, the Cuvée de Vie, the Brut, I mentioned that we do use Chardonnay and Pinot Noir grapes. So the original story of the Chardonnay Pinot Noir was actually grapes that were picked to be destined to go into an MCC, but then eventually ended up in a Chardonnay Pinot Noir. And it sort of became very catchy, being a rosé wine. Rosé, or the term rosé, got a bit of a negative connotation under rosé drinkers. I always thought of it being very sweet wines, very dark in color. And if you actually look at the Polo Club Chardonnay Pinot Noir, it's a very classic, almost red onion skin, salmon-y style color, very, very light in color. And how we achieve this wine is to also pick the grapes at an optimal ripeness, where we get good fruit expression, not as early as the MCC, but slightly riper, seeing that it goes into a still wine and not an MCC. So what happens is when we harvest the grapes, the Chardonnay is harvested separately and the Pinot Noir is harvested separately at different ripeness. The wine will then be made separately in the winery, and then we will also keep it separate in tank, where it will ferment separately. And after fermentation and a few weeks on the lees, we will then look at the different blending components to get the right color first of all, which is very important. Chardonnay Pinot Noirs, most of the time, is you drink it with your eyes first, and then also to get that perfect flavor profile. This also goes beautifully on its own or with food. It's a very versatile wine, and I think it's very versatile because you have the two varieties working extremely well together. You've got that nice sort of red fruitiness from the Pinot Noir and the nice citrusy notes from the Chardonnay. Really a crowd pleaser, and I think a very good everyday drinking wine. So the second wine we're going to look at today is the Val de Vie, the Perfect Host. I really think this is such a fitting name for the estate, as we really try to strive and be the perfect host for residents and everybody that come here. So really cool to share this wine, the Perfect Host, with everybody. The Perfect Host is a barrel fermented Chenin Blanc. You're probably wondering what this thing is over here. We actually tasted some of the 2020 vintage that's in barrel aging at the moment. This year is called a Wine Thief. I think the name is so fitting because we literally go and steal some wine out of the barrel to taste. So the Wine Thieves help us to draw out some samples from the barrels, which we can taste to see where the wine is at the moment. The Chenin Blanc for the Perfect Host, this is a 2017 vintage. We use grapes from Darling and from Paul. The reason why we use the different grapes is to get different layers of complexity in the wine. I know the Darling blocks give me slightly fresher, higher acidity in the wine, as well as very fresh white fruit, white pear and apple characteristics. Whereas with the Paul fruit, which is picked even riper, we get that beautiful sort of apricot and peach and more yellow fruit profile. It's very good to have these building blocks in the winery to create a wine that is really complex, and also that will eventually pair very well with rich foods. Think anything of a beautiful butter chicken curry for the winter, or even something rich like butterfish or anything in that direction. It will really go well with. The grapes, as I said, it is picked slightly riper. The reason for that is to ferment it in barrels. So we use 500 litre barrels to ferment the Chenin Blanc in. I'm very specific on the reason why I'm saying 500 litre barrels. I always use the example of dynamite comes in small packages. So in the winery, normally the red wines will be aged in 225 litre or 300 litre barrels, whereas with Chenin Blanc, the bigger the barrel, the less oak impact you will have. So the smaller the barrel, the more oak impact you have, and that's why red wine works well in smaller barrels. And then with the bigger barrels on white wine, you do preserve the fruit and that characteristics that you worked so hard on in the vineyard. And then the oak really in the big barrel during fermentation and also the aging process really just contributes to the mouthfeel of the wine, gives it beautiful structure and texture. So when smelling this wine, you actually get all that lovely fruit. You've got that white pears and the apples coupled with that beautiful yellow fruit profile of peaches and apricots that sort of comes through a bit later. And then when you taste the wine, you get that nice richness and fullness of the barrel fermentation that took place, the 9 months of aging that also took place, and then just that slight sort of toastiness on the back palate of the barrels. I think this is a very good combination of oak and fruit. When making wine, that's always the key thing, is to have balance in the wine. And here we try to achieve a balance between that oak and that fruit profile of the Perfect Host Chenin Blanc. Thank you, and if you like these type of videos and content that we shared with you today, please make sure to like and subscribe to our channel, and please leave comments below and give us feedback.